How can I say this as an entity? Because when we are going to call any of the real world object as an entity, that must have some properties. We are going to have some conceptualized idea. We are going to prepare one blueprint. That is what we are going to call that as a data model. Totally we have 3 internals here. Each internals carries 20 marks. So out of this, as per the rules and regulation of Mysuru University, we are going to finalize the marks of your internals. Hello everybody, welcome to the very first session on the B.C.A's 4th semesters, which is described by the Mysuru University of a subject called Database Management System. In short, we will be calling it as RDBMS. I'm Rohini T.S., Department of Computer Science, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. So in this session, we are going to brief out the DBMS, that is Database Management System. So in my today's session, I'm going to deal with we have these many things. That is what I'm going to discuss in my today's session. I will be discussing regarding the prerequisites. So before getting into this database management system, syllabus, what and all should I know? That is what prerequisites here. And also we are going to learn about the learning outcomes. After studying this subject, what are the learning outcomes that I can get out of it? That is what learning outcomes. And also I'm going to discuss regarding the number of units. So what are the number of units we have in the syllabus, and also I will be discussing regarding about the internals. Then we'll see about the exam pattern, how will be the question paper, what is the number of sections we have in that question paper, that I'm going to discuss in my exam pattern. Along with that, I will be discussing about lab. That means, do we have a lab for this subject? We'll see later. So now we'll see the first one, that is prerequisites. So you just imagine you are from the non-computer science background and you don't know anything about this subject called database management system. So as we all know that data and information will going to play a very important role in all the aspects, right? As we all know that data is a raw fact that needs to be processed. For example, if I say 18/7 so did you understand anything? No, right? So if I mention name is equal to Param and if I mention age is equal to 20, so which is more convenient, whether simply randomly specifying something or specifically specifying something, which is more convenient for us? That is what we are going to call the process data as an information. So now we have to concentrate on the data and information. Along with that, we have you just imagine we have a large amount of data. I have n number of tables. I have n number of records. Then what we require? So for that purpose, we require this database in order to store the large amount of data, what similar one to another. So then we are going to use this database. Then I require some software in order to manage all these database. That is what? Database management system. So if I wanted to learn this subject, you don't worry anything. We don't need to have a prior knowledge in order to learn this subject called DBMS. Though you don't know anything about the database management system, from the scratch, I'm going to teach you about this database management system subject. So no need to worry about anything as a prerequisite. So you don't need to have any of the prior knowledge of any other subject in order to learn this DBMS or a database management system. So next, here you can see the learning outcomes. So now I told you I'm going to do this subject from the scratch. After studying this subject or after successful completion of this subject, what are the things that I must be able to answer? So that is what learning outcome here. After studying this subject or after the completion of the course, a student will be able to, you will be able to what? So gain a good understanding of the architecture and functioning of a database management system. So you will get to know what you mean by how it will going to be architectured or structured, and also you are going to learn about the functioning of that DBMS, and also you will be learning regarding what tools which are required in order to use this DBMS. Along with that, you will get to know about the techniques, even principle of data modeling using ER diagram, that is what? Entity relationship, and develop a good database design and normalization technique to normalize a database. So though in our first session, you couldn't understand what you mean by all these things, but when you reach to the last session of this subject or this syllabus, then you will get to know what is this all about. So you are going to understand the data architecture, and also you are going to get to know about what are the tools I am supposed to use in order to manage this database management system, and also you are going to have a look regarding some of the techniques and principles of this DBMS. Then you will be able to have a create or to design the ER relationship, that is what entity relationship model for the good database design. And also you are going to get to know how to do the normalization, like you have to minimize the error, so you have to improve the efficiency of a database. So that is what normalization is all about. I will teach you later about that. And also you will get to know the usage of structured query language. So in short, it will be considered as SQL. So for example, if I wanted to communicate with you, I want to talk to you a language that you can understand. In the same way, we have this SQL or a structured query language in order to communicate with this database. That is what SQL structured query language. And also you are going to learn about its syntax, transaction, database recovery. If something goes wrong, I want to get the data and information back. That is what I must rely on this database. That is what regarding this database recovery, and also techniques for query optimization. So after that, what I can get out of this subject, you can acquire a very good understanding of a database system concepts. Along with that, to be in a position to use and design the database for different applications. So if you get to know how this DBMS is working, how these databases are organized or designed, so after learning all the concepts of this subject, you will be able to do all these things. That is regarding what? Learning outcome of this database management systems. So next we have units. Totally we have 4 units in the syllabus or in the subject called DBMS. What is the first unit? That is what? Introduction to database system concepts and architecture. So in this first unit, you are going to learn about the basics of a database. That means you are going to understand how the architecture, like what you mean by database, what you mean by database management system. Along with that, you are going to learn about some of the important definitions. Then I am going to take some of the example to make you understand how database management system will going to work, what you mean by database, everything that we are going to learn along with its architecture and some of the important concepts. And that includes what? Database, database user and its characteristics, and who are all considered as actors and who are all considered as behind the scenes actors. And also you are going to learn about the advantages of using this DBMS. That is what are the benefits of having this DBMS, what is its characteristics, what is the architecture it is following, everything that we are going to learn in the first unit. And also we will be learning regarding this data models, schemas and instances, DBMS architecture and data independence, database language and interfaces, the database system environment. And also you are going to learn about the ER, that is entity relationship. Then what do you mean by entity here? I just wanted to brief you out what do you mean by entity. So an entity is a real world fact. For example, can I consider this pen as an entity? Yes. Can I consider this remote as an entity? Yes. So how can I say this as an entity? Because when we are going to call any of the real world object as an entity, that must have some properties, that must perform some of the operations. Then how can I create a relationship between this pen and this remote? I can change the slide by making use of this remote, right? And I can write the content on that slide. That is what the relationship between this pen and this remote. In the same way, in the database, we are going to have a different entity. That means we are going to have a different tables. And then how can I relate one table with another table? How can I establish a relationship between those two? That is what entity relationship model. So you are going to learn with data modeling using the entity relationship model, that is ER diagram in short. So out of that, you are going to learn what is entity types, entity sets, what do you mean by attributes or its characteristics, and also we will be learning about the different types of keys, and then relationship types, then relationship set, roles and structured constraints. So if I say constraint, that is a set of rules. And also we are going to learn about the types of entity with its diagrams and naming conventions and designing aspects. So these are the content of unit 1. So mainly you are going to learn about the basic of this RDBMS. Along with that, we will be learning about the ER diagram or entity relationship diagram. This is unit 1. In the second unit, what we have, that is transaction. So as I told, database management system is a software in order to manage the database. So we have a n number of databases. For example, you consider the students and teacher. In that, students will be considered as what? Different data types. We'll see the unit 2, that is transaction. So before that, let me tell you one example. Consider students and teacher in a classroom. So students will be considered as different databases, and we require database management system in order to manage number of databases. So teacher will be considered as DBMS and students will be considered as what? Database. So each database will going to have n number of tables, and I have to establish a relationship between one table to another table. So in the transaction, what we are going to do, for example, if I am fetching the content from the table or if I am fetching the data and information from the database, all those will be considered as transaction. That is what we are learning in the unit 2. So in this, we are going to learn about the transaction concept, states and acid properties. So you are going to get to know what do you mean by acid properties in my coming session. Along with that, we will be learning about the concurrent execution and serializability. And also, we have a relational data model, relational constraints and relational algebra. So as I told, data model, that means before building any of the building or before building any of the construction work, we are going to have some plans, like washroom should be like this and number of rooms should be like this. We are going to have some conceptualized idea. We are going to prepare one blueprint. That is what we are going to call that as a data model. So before writing or before having any of the databases for my database management system, I have to configure a data model. So then we have to establish a relationship between one table or a database to another database. So that is what relational data model. And also I need to specify some constraint. So as I told, constraints are nothing but rules and regulation. For example, if anybody wanted to join first PUC, like they have to satisfy some of the constraint. They have to pass the SSLC examination first and their age must be minimum. So that is what we are giving some of the constraints, or we are giving some set of rules. In the same way, we are going to have some constraints in a relational database management system. So and also we are going to do all these things with the help of this relational algebra. This is what we are going to learn in the unit 2. Mainly we have to concentrate on the transaction and RDBMS or a relational data model, then its constraints and then relational algebra. This is regarding unit 2. And also we have unit 3, that is advantages of RDBMS. So what are the advantages I can get with the help of this relational database management system? For example, if I am considering all the databases as a table, then we are going to call that as a relational database management system. So then what are the advantages of using all those things? So with the help of this CORDS rule, we are going to learn the advantages of this relational database management system. And in the third unit, we are mainly concentrating on the SQL, that is structured query language. So as I told earlier, if I wanted to communicate with the database, I have to use a language called SQL or a structured query language. So we are going to learn completely regarding this SQL in the unit 3. So we will be learning regarding what do you mean by SQL and what are the data types we have in a SQL. Then what do you mean by schemas, what use constraints and basic queries in SQL. And also we will be learning regarding how to insert a data and how to delete a data and how to update a data. So all these statements we are going to learn in this unit 3. Then we have some more topics like that include set operation, aggregate function, views, that is virtual tables in the SQL, and we will be learning regarding the joins, that includes inner join, outer join and self join. So along with that, we are going to learn about the additional features of SQL. What are the more benefits that I can get out of this SQL? And also we will be learning regarding some of the types of SQL commands here. Like we have a DML, DCL and TCL. So out of that we have a DCL. In that we have a commit, rollback, save point, grant privileges. All these content we are going to learn in the unit 3. So mainly we have to concentrate on the advantages of RDBMS, along with we are going to learn the basic concepts regarding this SQL. We'll see about the unit 4, that is the last unit of the syllabus. Unit 4, in this we will be concentrating on the storage strategies. As I told, if the number of databases grows or if the number of tables grows exponentially, then we must be able to maintain that. For that we require different applications in order to maintain all these database as well as the database management system. So there we are going to use some of the techniques that includes indices, binary trees, and also we have a concept called hashing. It will work based on the keys, and also we are going to learn about the transaction processing. So as we did in the second unit, so some of the content of this 4th unit can also be related to the second unit. We will be concentrate regarding this transaction processing and transaction and system concept. Then what are the properties of this transaction, and mainly we are going to learn about the locking techniques for concurrency control. And as I told, if the data grows exponentially, then we must be able to deal with large amount of data. So first we have a data, then it needs to be converted into information, and I'm going to use the bulk of information or a collection of information in the database. That is what database, it's going to collect the related data. So in order to manage that database, I have a DBMS called database management system. So after that, whatever the content we have in a database management system will be considered as what? Data warehouse. So we have n number of database management system in the data mining. So there I am going to get the more informative data with the help of KDD process. So even though data is growing exponentially, then I am going to have a big data. So as I told, we have a data, then that needs to be converted into information. Then we are going to store that with the help of database management system. So after this, we are going to fetch the data and information by using data mining. So after that, everything will going to be stored in the data warehouse. That is a collection of e-content or a logically related bulk amount of data. Then we are going to deal everything like what are the data and information which is growing exponentially will be considered as what? Big data. So all these content we are going to learn in the last session of this unit 4, that includes object oriented and object relational database. Then we have a logical database, web database, distributed database. Then we have a data warehouse. Along with that, we are going to learn about the data mining. So these are the 4 number of units that you have in this complete syllabus. We'll see about the next topic, that is regarding internals. So in the internals, you are going to have 3 internals for this. That is what internals 1, 2, 3. So as of now, I don't want to discuss regarding the topics or units that you are going to get for each internals. So totally we have 3 internals here. Each internals carries 20 marks. So out of this, as per the rules and regulation of Mysuru University, we are going to finalize the marks of your internals. That means totally this paper is for 100 marks, 20 marks is for internals, and for 80 you are going to write the examination. So this internals will going to be takes place within your college circumference. Then you are going to write another 80 marks as a exam. So now we'll see about this question paper pattern. As I told, this will be for 80 marks. Everybody loves 80. I just wanted to get 80 on 80 in this subject. Then what is the marks distribution? How will be the question paper pattern? We'll see now. So totally it comprises of 2 parts. One is part A and another one is part B. So in the part A, you are going to have 2 marks 10 questions. That means you have to answer 2 marks 10 questions. So for that you are going to get 20 marks. Then what about another 60 marks? How will be the marks distribution? That is in the part B. So in the part B, you are going to get 4 questions and each question carries 15 marks. So totally it will be for 60 marks. So in the 15 marks, again it will be distributed like 8 plus 7 is equal to 15. And we can't predict always it will be like 8 plus 7. Then there might be a chances of splitting this 8 into 4, 4 or 7 into 3, 4. Okay. Totally each question carries 15 marks. So totally you have to answer 4. Then 15 into 4 will be 60. So from a part A, it will be for 20 and in the part B, it will be for 60. So totally it will be for 80 and I want all my students to get 80 on 80 from this subject. This is regarding what? Question paper part run. And now you can see the textbook. So what are the textbook I'm supposed to refer and what is the textbook which is given by the Mysuru University for the subject called Database Management System. So here I have listed out textbook as well as the reference book. So take a hard copy or I go with a soft copy which you can download with the help of internet. So just copy the content and browse it. You can get the PDF. So you go with a soft copy, either hard copy. So these are the textbook and reference book which you require for the subject called Database Management System. We'll see the last part of this session, that is regarding lab. Do we have a lab for this subject? Yes, we have a lab for this subject. And as of now, I don't want it to discuss regarding the lab portions or lab programs. So we are going to have a lab for this database management. I hope you all understood and you all enjoyed, and I hope you got the very brief knowledge regarding the database management subject. Let me meet you in the next session. Until that, keep learning, keep on growing. Thank you.